Have you ever stopped to really think about how you spend your time? Have you ever really taken a look at what are you engrossed in habitually and whether or not it is supporting you? So I have to tell you guys, I'm being very transparent. I just had this happen recently where I realized that my usual morning routine was getting interrupted more and more by me scrolling through social media. And look, I get it. Like social media is a big part of how we connect with people, how we build our businesses, because it's a real way to stay connected to people, meet new people, build relationships. So I'm all about it. I use social media every day. That's probably how you and I might have even met. And I just found that a lot of mornings I was kind of getting into the scroll. And I know you get that because I'm not alone. And we get lost a little bit in scrolling through, especially different videos and reels, some of which are interesting and informative, and others that were really just silly and a waste of my time. And I had this big aha this morning. And that's what inspired me to come on and talk to you about this today, was that I was starting to form a habit, and that particular habit of scrolling and just using my time differently than I normally intend to in the morning, especially that first hour, was creating some different results. And so as business owners, entrepreneurs, salespeople, people who are committed to our own personal growth and development, I think it's a really important conversation for us to have about why habits matter for us, because they shape our productivity, habits shape our mindset, and can certainly create long-term success, or our habits could get in our way. And I want to talk to you today about the power that habits have in our lives and our businesses, share a little bit about, I guess, maybe the science behind habits too, because I think when you can understand something and unpack it, then you can use it more. So think about what we do every day. And I think that habits are basically those activities that we are doing on a constant or automatic basis that we might not even think about, right? Brushing your teeth is a habit. And when those behaviors become automatic, it's a habit. And it's basically a pattern that can repeat, and it can be very ingrained or etched into a lot of our neural pathways. And so we form habits in pretty much everything that we do, right? There could be emotional habits, there could be mental patterns and physical habits. And the question that I think we have to ask ourselves is whether the things that are happening habitually in our life, is it supporting us or is it getting in our way? Because habits can be good or they can be bad. Your habits are determining the quality of your life. Yeah, our habits determine the quality of our life because it's where we're spending most of our time. And because it is a pattern, it's creating results, and those results are on repeat. Listen, if your habits are good and they're really grounded in being productive, then you're seeing amazing results and you're seeing success repeating itself. But if your habits are distracting you, if your habits are not allowing you to put your health first or make your health a priority, if your habits are getting in the way of having meaningful and healthy relationships, then obviously that is going to affect the quality of your life. Let's talk about how to identify which habits are supporting us and which habits we might need to change. Examining your habits is important because, again, they significantly influence our overall well-being, and it impacts every aspect of our daily life and our success. And the success we're achieving, not just professionally, but as I mentioned, it could be the success we're feeling in our health, in our relationships, and other important aspects of our life. And so if we can understand our current habits and really take a look at whether it's supporting us or not, then we can start to figure out what areas we need to improve in. And then we can consciously cultivate more positive behavior and start to eliminate the ones that might be really harmful or getting in our way. And so there are a few key reasons that examining your habits should become your priority right now. I think, again, number one, it's identifying those negative patterns so that you can get real and be aware of things that are feeling unproductive or unhealthy, like my admission to you that I was really scrolling a little too much. And there are other things I could be doing that would be much more productive. And I felt like it was starting to lead to some unhealthy habits. And so I'm grateful I was aware of it so I could address it. But then the key is to replace it with something else. I have to find an alternative. And so what I'm really now determined and focused on creating in terms of better habits in the morning is not to pick up my phone. If I could leave my phone somewhere else, and for at least that first hour or 90 minutes that I have in the morning, if I could focus on reading, exercise or movement, writing, journaling, all the things I've been doing for a long time, what happened was I started to get wrapped up in my phone, and that got me off track. And then because I was doing it a lot, it was creating a new habit. So it's important that we identify what might be changing in our routine so that we can always be asking ourselves, is this serving me, supporting me? Is this helpful? And listen, all of this, right? Observing your routines, observing your habits, it's all about self-awareness. Because you have a choice there too. You could choose not to pay attention. You could choose to ignore what's happening around you. But I think that when you take the time to examine your habits, you're going to enhance your self-awareness. And then that gives you the opportunity to make those adjustments to get back on track and really start to achieve the things you say you want. And overall, I truly believe that the benefit to self-examination and being more self-aware is always about improving our mental health, improving our physical health, improving our emotional health, boosting our productivity, and even managing our stress levels. And if you can identify some habits that you have right now that actually are causing you stress when you really start to take it and pull it apart, I think you'll start to feel the motivation to want to replace that with something else. I believe that habits are an essential part of us living a fulfilling life. And look, habits are everything. It's a big part of who we are. It's a big part of how we live our life. And I think habits can be a really good thing if they help you to live your life at a full level, if it's helping you to be more efficient, if it's helping you to feel more fulfilled, then obviously habits are great, right? Brushing your teeth every day is not a bad thing. But when your habits are creating negative outcomes or keeping you from the people and the things that you say you love or want, if it's starting to create an imbalance in your life, then you have to recognize that it's certainly not serving you. So if you have come across a few things that you think you want to change, as I said, it's really important that you understand that you have to replace it. So if you identify a habit that isn't serving you and you say, okay, I need to break through from that, I have to break away from that, that's great. But you have to know how to replace it with something else. So when you want to start a new habit, you start by making that decision, but then get really specific and realistic about what is the alternative, right? Because you don't want to say something like, I'm never going to pick up my phone between the hours of 8 and 5. That's just not realistic. I think it's about starting small. And like I said to myself, okay, I'm just going to avoid my phone for the first hour. And I'm going to really commit to doing other things in its place. So when you want to start the new habit, you just have to know that it takes some time to relearn or unlearn what you were doing before. Okay, so let's talk about some good positive habits, especially when it comes to our career or our business that we want to be in alignment with. So if you can identify activities that can grow into a habit around productivity, generating more business, obviously that's going to lead you down a path of success. And when you spend more time on something, because the nature of a habit is that you've spent enough time on it that it becomes automatic. when you spend a lot of time doing something, you become really good at it. You develop mastery. So when you're spending a lot of time on things that are going to grow your business and are going to attract more clients to you, that is going to help you to become more productive, more efficient, those consistent actions, even if they're small at first, are going to lead to big results. The power of habits in your business is paramount. Now, there's a difference, though, between intentional habits and default habits. You have some default habits that you fall into, and then you have intentional habits that those are which you create. So, what are some of the intentional habits that you can create in your business so that you can achieve a higher level of growth, a higher level of success? Let's take a look at some of the key habits that could really work for entrepreneurs who want to achieve big success. I think one is that morning routine, right? So, what is your morning routine? What does that look like? How do you set the tone for your day? What habits can you instill in your first hour that will prepare you with the right mindset, that will equip you with some additional insight or learning, that will regulate you emotionally, that will inspire you, that will help get the body moving, helping you to feel more healthy, more ready for the day, right? Because look, if we're looking to build a big business, we have to be willing to do the things that are necessary to live a healthy life because we need the endurance. We need to be able to keep up with all these big goals. So I think a very important key habit for anyone in business today is to create a habit in the morning around that first hour of the day. The second one is around time blocking and identifying our priorities. Because if you can manage your time better, you can achieve greater results. You'll become more efficient. And what time blocking really is being intentional about how you're going to spend your time. Look, we do that well and on default when it comes to setting an appointment. If you make an appointment with someone, whether it's a work related appointment or it's an appointment with your dentist, you probably put it on your calendar. And the reason you do that is because it's important and you don't want to forget about it. And you also don't want something else to show up during that same time. If we could do that with all of the things that are important to us in a day, if we could do that with our activities, those priorities that help us move the needle, get us closer to our goals, we would then be able to protect our time and make sure that we have the time devoted to the things that matter. And so that's really what time blocking is, and that's how you manage your time more effectively. I think another really important habit for an entrepreneur to have is a focus or a commitment to learning. We have to really acknowledge that the world is changing every day. We are in an ever evolving market. The things that might have worked before may not be the same things that work today. And so we have to stay ahead of the curve. We have to know that we can expand our learning base. We can add more tools to our toolbox or sharpen the ones that we have. And so we have to be committed to our own growth and our own learning. And that also means we have to be willing to be adaptable. So, what habits can you form around your own education, your own development, your own learning? Another key habit I would suggest that entrepreneurs develop is the habit or the habitual events that can show up on your calendar around networking and relationship building. Because it has always been, it always will be that people create opportunities for you. The power of your connections and the ability that you have to really be visible and connect with people in your marketplace, in your community. Not only is it an opportunity for you to cast a bigger net and for you to possibly help more people or bring your business concept or your product or service to more people, but think about all of the people in your network and what they could bring to you. right? Because they also represent products and services and resources and knowledge that you may not have or that you need. And so there's a lot of power in connection because it's always people that move other people forward. And then the fifth one I want to share today around key habits for those of us who are entrepreneurial is definitely self-care and energy management. Because again, burnout is definitely a result of putting a lot of energy and passion and time into what you're doing. If we can minimize that burnout or avoid it, I think that's really healthy and will help us to sustain ourselves and create the momentum we need to achieve long-term success. And it's because, listen, we're one whole person. We're not only what we do professionally, we are an entire human being, an amazing person who has likes and interests and passion. We have a body that wants to move. We have a mind that wants to think and grow. We have people that we love that we want to connect with. And when we're giving and giving in our business, we have to learn how to be able to recharge the battery, refill the cup. And again, as I've said a million times, self-care is not selfish. It is self-preservation. So that's definitely a key habit. For a lot of us, sometimes we implement elements of self-care or we become more aware to manage our emotions or to manage our energy when we're feeling the stress. Imagine if you could create a habit, though, where you were regularly practicing self-care, energy management, emotional regulation. That would give you a much more balanced approach. And I think that's truly a key to living a life by design. So that's why I feel that's an important habit to develop. Now, as we've been talking, habits can be good. They might also be bad. If you need to break a bad habit, if this conversation is inspiring you or helping you to be more aware of some things that are not serving you, understand that you have the power to change it. Because when you identify habits that might be sabotaging you, getting in the way of your success, then you have to make a decision about what to do with it. Because a lot of these negative habits are sometimes wound up in different things like procrastination, a lack of focus. Another bad habit for a lot of us is people pleasing and overcommitting. That might be a bad habit that you need to break. So when you identify one that is definitely a habit that needs to be broken, I think, again, you have to decide what is a better use of your time. What is a strategy that you can incorporate that might help you replace unhelpful habits with more productive ones? And who can help you get there? Because look, sometimes we have a lot of self-confidence about our ability or our willingness to want to see change and to see growth in our lives, but we all need some support from an outside person because there are going to be days you just can't hold yourself accountable. So you may really want to make that change, but especially if the habit has been around for a long time, the roots, it's like a dandelion. Think of it that way. You have a dandelion in your garden and you can walk over to and say, that just doesn't look nice. So I'm going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut this dandelion, this weed right here at the stem. And for a little while, it's gone. You don't see it. But after a short while, what happens? It grows back because you never got the root. So your habits are just like the dandelion in your garden. If you really want to get rid of the weeds, you have to pull it out by its root. And now that you've pulled it out by its root, you don't want to just see a hole or an empty space. You want to replace it with something really pretty and something better. So I would give you that metaphor or analogy for your habits. So understand that it is about replacing it with something else. And because that negative habit may have had deep roots, it might take a little time and repetition for the new habit to take root. And that's where the accountability partner can come in to help you with that, to help you stay on track and to make sure that you put enough time on the new habit that it sticks. So here are a couple of things that I think you could take away from today's conversation, today's podcast. I think that you want to challenge yourself to have some reflection time and to really ask yourself honestly about the things that are showing up habitually in your life, what habits you have, and sort it out and decide which habits are positive and which habits might be sabotaging you. Which habits might be getting in the way of your success, getting in the way of your health, getting in the way of your relationships. And when you identify what those are, figure out how to pull it out by the root and then make a decision today to implement one small habit that aligns more with what you say you want, that aligns with your business goals, that aligns more with your values, right? And so that you can start making that progress every day by spending more time on this more positive habit. And look, I just want to say this to you guys. Realize this is a process and realize that you're going to make some progress and then you might take a few steps back, which is why I recommend working with a coach or an accountability partner as you're implementing new habits, because you have to know that some slip ups might occur. So just be mentally ready for that. Be prepared. Don't let it make you feel guilty, discouraged, or overwhelmed. And just be committed to what that vision is that you want to create with that more productive, more positive habit. And I just wanted you to be ready for that because slip ups are part of the process. So I also want to share another really great resource for you. It is a book all about habits, and it's very practical, comprehensive sort of guidebook that will help you understand the science behind habits, help you to create good ones, break bad ones. And what I love about James Clear and his book, Atomic Habits, is that he really helps you understand that even a 1% improvement is something to celebrate. Because even the habits, the bad habits that you might have right now, or the good ones, they didn't happen overnight, right? A habit is developed over time. And so you have to understand that in replacing a bad habit with a better one, even just small improvements are victories because it is moving you forward. It's definitely a book that I would recommend, and it can help you reshape the way you think about progress and success. And it will give you some tools and some strategies so that you can see transformation. So, what I like about this book, it's a great book to use as a book study with your team or in your company, because if you're struggling with this, you're not alone. Someone else in your organization is too. And I think when you can look at this together as a group, it could certainly help your organization realign, redefine, create some innovations, and really move the needle in a big way. So that is another recommendation I have for you today in terms of your habits. You might want to pick up the book Atomic Habits and really get into what James Clear has to say about it. And I would also say that journaling can be a great way to help you work through some of your habits. Because if you could just document what you're spending your time on. So maybe instead of calling it journaling, I'll say it's like a personal inventory. If you could take a week and just jot down how you spend your day, like a really honest approach to it, and write down the things that you're doing and how long you spend on it, you'll see the patterns. You'll identify what habits are working for you and what habits are working against you. That's the other resource that I would love to share with you today too, is to just track your activities and just be as honest with yourself as you can. I am always excited to hear from you, and I want to encourage you to use our Facebook group, Monday Morning Mojo, as a platform. I want you to feel like you can share your struggles, share your triumphs. Definitely feel free to let me know how you're working through your habits, how you're feeling about this conversation. And I think when you do that, you inspire other people. So I want to definitely encourage you to use our Facebook group as a way to connect and to share. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.